Christy Billock, and I am a professor and the founding program director for KGI's developing OTD program. And I have a lot that I could tell you about our program, but I would really like to hear a little bit from you about what are you most curious to know about. Have you done some research on our program? Have you heard me speak about it before? Because I want to make the next hour that we're spending together meaningful to you. So if anyone would dare to unmute or type something in the chat about what you'd be most interested in hearing, or if you just want the overview, I'll just launch in, and I've got a presentation I can show, but I do want to, if anyone has a burning desire of what they'd like to hear, I'd love to hear from you now about that. Everyone is very quiet tonight. It's January, it's the winter, right? we're not as outgoing, I guess. All right, well, I will go ahead with my presentation then and give you an overview of our program. And we are, I don't know what phases you all are at with applying, but we are in the process of interviewing. We're starting next week, interviewing our first group of people that have applied to our program. We've got lots and lots of applications. We're excited about that. And our first cohort is starting in the fall. So this presentation will serve to just kind of give you a big picture. The thing about occupational therapy programs is, you know, that there are lots of schools out there, and each school has a unique way of teaching their students how to become occupational therapists. And we all have basic guidelines that we need to follow, but the interpretation of those guidelines varies a lot from school to school. So I hope that by the end of this presentation, you have a clear picture of what makes KGI different maybe than from the other schools that you may be considering. So Keck Graduate Institute is a member of the Claremont colleges. So there are 5 undergraduate and 2 graduate schools here in Claremont, California. Our tagline is Innovators Start Here. And I'll be revisiting that a lot throughout my presentation here. And you can see the programs that we already have and the ones that are developing. So our program mission is that we care a lot about providing a transformative and dynamic educational process. And we want to educate future therapists that are scholars of practice, that are ready to go out and see needs in the world and find ways to meet those needs. So our program is going to help educate people who are ready to be leaders and innovators, and they'll be ready to work in current occupational therapy contexts, but also in future contexts as well. So this is part of one of the questions that you might have is, what's the difference between a master's and a doctorate? Because you know that you can become a licensed OT both ways. And we chose to have our program be a doctoral one because we see the potential of using occupation out there to solve just a lot of real world problems that are all around us at this point in time. So our first cohort is being admitted for August of 2022. So this year, it was so strange this year when it turned to on New Year's Day, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's 2022. And it seemed like it'd be so far off for the beginning of our program, but here we are, it's months away now. So our cohort size is going to be 40 students. We'll be accepting 1 time per year. The goal is to have 10 full-time faculty to support students. The program is 2.7 years long and 128 credits. So it is an almost 3-year program, so 8 trimesters long. The first 2 years, the first 5 trimesters are all didactic. So this is where the coursework happens where you learn about the foundations of OT and then how to, the science supporting it, and then how you provide OT services in a wide range of settings. So during those didactic year trimesters, all of our students will be going out on fieldwork, and there's actually a total of 6 level 1 fieldworks that are going to happen during those 5 trimesters. And this is where students will just go out for a week at a time and get a better feel for what practice looks like out in the world. We'll be doing some case-based level 2 experiences as well, just to help ensure students have kind of a solid and consistent baseline for how to do clinical practice. And then the 3rd year is really focused on those level 2 fieldworks and the Capstone project. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So as I was saying, each program has a unique way of teaching OTs, and these are the curricular threads. So these are some of the themes that go across all of our courses. And I'm going to, you can kind of read through what these are, and I'll talk a bit more in detail about them as I talk about the curriculum and as I talk about the distinguishing features of our program. Here's a whole bunch of words on a slide. I guess I show you this to demonstrate that we've thought very deeply about what we want graduates of our program to, the skills we want them to have once they graduate. So these are our program learning outcomes that we want to see KGI OTD graduates being competent in, and like across our curriculum, our course objectives and learning objectives really focus on being able to deliver these. So what are some of the distinguishing features of KGI's program? So one of the reasons they decided to start an OT program at KGI is because they had a master's of medical device engineering program. And very often engineers have these wonderful skills of how to create devices and technology to help people, but they don't necessarily understand what the need is. And occupational therapists, we see need all the time, but we don't necessarily know how to really make sophisticated devices. So in our curriculum, our students are going to have the chance to work with engineers. I actually currently teach an engineering course here at KGI, Clinical Experiences for Engineers, where they really get a feel for user need and things that we really focus on in therapy. So that engineering and design collaboration is going to be a big part of what we do. I actually am working with with a professor at Art Center as well. We have a grant together where we're thinking about how design students and product design students could also be added to this mix and work with our OT students. Lifestyle medicine is a big part of what we do. We were able to obtain last year a $76,000 grant to create an integrated lifestyle medicine and occupational therapy curriculum. So one of those things that those curricular threads that goes across our curriculum is lifestyle medicine. So here's the thing. 80% of the reason why people need to go to the doctor and need healthcare are from preventable causes. We know that lifestyle factors can help treat and reverse chronic disease. And when you look at the range of healthcare professionals out there, really occupational therapists are the ones that are best positioned to provide these lifestyle interventions, because we focus on what people do every day, right? So we see a really wonderful opportunity here, as lifestyle medicine is a developing field and discipline, primarily is primarily physician focused right now, but also is multidisciplinary. And again, we feel like it's just a wonderful opportunity for occupational therapists to be at the table. So in all across our whole curriculum, like when our students learn about treating a person who's had a stroke, one of the things that they'll also be learning is, how do I help this person prevent the next one from happening? So those pillars of lifestyle medicine, sleep, nutrition, movement, social connection, stress management, and the avoidance of risky substances is going to be across our curriculum. So as I said at the beginning, our tagline at KGI is innovators start here. So innovations in practice is a really important part of how we're going to be teaching our students. And we already have some really wonderful relationships built with health technology companies that are offering innovative ways of treating people with mild traumatic brain injury, with people with substance abuse issues, utilizing technology in care. And we really want to be on the forefront of that. So assistive technology, innovations in practice across all practice settings are going to be a big part of what we do. We also understand that there are so many needs that people have out in the community. We know that, we're based in LA County here, and just the rate of homelessness, people who are living through domestic violence, there's so many needs out in the community, the aging population. And we see a real opportunity for occupational therapy to be able to meet the needs of people in these community-based settings. So we've been actively setting up relationships with community sites for our students to be able to go out and do field work and program development, and especially bring those lifestyle medicine and innovative perspectives into these different community-based settings. Health equity and occupational justice is really, really important to us in this program. And we recognize that there are so many inequities out in the world. There are so many people who are living in oppressive situations that impact what they're able to do every day. So our students will get a very robust education in how to use that justice lens to go out and make meaningful changes in the world. OT in higher education. I don't know where you guys all are in your experience of being college students, if you're graduated, if you're in college right now. But what we know is that it can be a stressful experience to be in college or be in graduate school. And we think that occupational therapy has a lot of answers for students in higher education. So we have been able to set up OT services for our graduate students at KGI, and students in our program will have the opportunity to be able to do field work in working with college-age students, and also the opportunity to take an elective in how to provide OT in these higher education settings. Whole person care is so very important to us, whether it's working with children and their whole families and the context in which they live. So across our curriculum, we'll be taking this holistic approach of really trying to understand not just what's happening with an individual, but all the context around them, and understanding that individuals have a lot of need beyond just maybe the physical problem that they're having. And we understand that mental health and behavioral health and brain health is so important to being able to live a vibrant life, and that it can be addressed across all practice settings. So this really whole person care approach is going to be theming across what we do. And the last distinguishing feature is trusted partnerships. We have worked very hard to come up with a way of partnering with sites in the community where we feel like we can really trust and have a reciprocal relationship with those who are taking our students out on field work. So we are offering perks to fieldwork partners, things like giving fieldwork educators access to the Claremont College's library, providing continuing education to clinicians, so they are just at the place where they are absolutely ready to provide quality clinical education to our students. So curricular highlights. I've talked about some of these already. We have an integrated and systems approach to teaching, meaning that students are not going to learn about lifestyle development in one trimester and then apply it 3 trimesters later. So our curriculum is set up so when our students are learning about a particular way to do intervention or assessment with clients, they're also learning the theory that's applicable, the lifespan development that's applicable. They're learning about all of those systems together, the science that's supporting it, all in an integrated way. So we think that this is the best way to provide that education. And I didn't really properly introduce myself at the beginning, but I've been an OT for, oh my goodness, a lot of years now, 28 years. Been an OT educator for 24, this is the beginning of my 24th year. And so I've seen a lot of different ways of how to teach OT, and being able to start a program from scratch has really allowed me and my colleagues now, the other faculty in the OTD program, to really think about what is the best way to teach. And these are some of the things that we think just make a lot of sense. So in the first trimester, students are going to have a mental health and psychosocial 2-class series, the beginning of a larger series, where really there's going to be a really, really strong grounding in this mental health approach that will be able to carry out throughout the rest of the program. When students go out on fieldwork, the places that they go will be matching up with the content that they're learning that trimester. And sometimes in an OT programs, students are just kind of sent all over the place, and you might have learned all about physical disabilities and biomechanical approaches one semester, but then you're going out to a pediatric site. So we're going to be matching those experiences up to really maximize that kind of learning. Pediatrics is a really complex area of practice. It's an area of practice where a lot of OTs are needed. I know in Southern California, the demand for pediatric OTs and pediatric services is very, very high. And because of that, we are going to be offering 2 trimesters of pediatrics courses just to best prepare our graduates to be able to practice in that area. We also have 3 trimesters of adult and older adult. So that's also an emphasis in our program as well. So our students are going to be able to use the MAD lab, which is the medical device engineering lab, where we've got 3D printers and laser cutters and a whole bunch of machines that I don't know what they do, but I've hung out in there with our engineering, our MS&DE professor. And there's all kinds of resources that our OT students are going to be able to use along with our engineering students. So we also will have an emphasis on leadership, program development, and entrepreneurship, understanding that there's just a lot of room in the marketplace for OTs to be able to set up new practices and lead in directions where there aren't currently OTs, and we want our students to be ready to do that. We also understand that there is a shortage of OT faculty nationally, and that's expected to grow as a lot of OT faculty are at retirement age. And so within our program, we do have a course that is on education. So our students will be prepared to take on that role as educator if that's something that they want to do in the future. So many OT programs, you just start the program and you're kind of on autopilot, and you just go from class to class to class, and you don't get to have any say in what classes you're taking. So a lot of our program is like that, but we have been able to create over 2 trimesters an opportunity for our students to take up to 4 elective courses. And this is where students will be able to identify, I'm really interested in hand therapy, or I'm really interested in mental health practice. And we're hoping that we can offer electives to help students really go deeper in those areas of interest. Research is going to be very strong in our program, and every student will be part of a group research project that is very closely mentored by faculty. And it will take, a research series goes over the course of a year, so it's 3 trimesters long. So research groups will go from research design and proposal, IRB proposal, collecting data, analyzing and writing it up. And hopefully at the end of that, we'll have some kind of scholarly deliverable to present at a conference or to submit as publication. And then I'll talk about Capstone in a little bit. Are there any questions so far? All good? Okay. So this is just an outline of what our level 1 fieldwork looks like. And you can see that it goes from community-based settings to adult and older adult populations, and then pediatrics. And then in trimester 5, students will be able to go out and implement lifestyle medicine interventions as groups in the community. So those are what our 6 level 1 fieldworks look like. Level 2, I need to update the slides because our numbers are even higher than 98 now. So I think they're around like 104 fieldwork sites for our first cohort. And we have contracts with a very wide range of sites at this point. So whatever area of practice you're interested in, you'll likely have a chance to see that area in practice during fieldwork. So the capstone process. So this is one of the big differentiators between getting a master's and a doctorate. And so this is an individual experience that you go out and spend 14 weeks at a site, and then you have an independent capstone project that you work on. So there are all these different areas you can see on the left, the categories that you can do your capstone project in. And each of our doctoral students will be working with Dr. Danny Freeberg, who is a very experienced capstone coordinator, has done this at a previous university, and is just very accomplished in thinking about how this process goes. And students will meet with her independently and then implement in the capstone in their final trimester. So you can see that the planning for capstone starts in trimester 3, continues in trimester 4, where a site is identified, a site mentor is identified. Then in trimester 5, it's really starting to come together, and then it's implemented in trimester 8. So this is a new program at KGI. So they've been doing a lot of construction to get ready for us. And we are lucky enough, we have some renderings here of what some of our classrooms will look like. One of our big classrooms is a manual therapy classroom, where the desks are actually plinths that students can hop up on and practice different interventions, assessment strategies with classmates, but it's very much designed for active learning. So one of the things that KGI really prides themselves in and really guides the teaching philosophy is active learning. And this is across all programs. And we're really excited within OT to be able to bring those active learning strategies into every single class that we teach. And really our classrooms are really going to set up to be able to do that. So this is our other big classroom, where the desks are all on wheels, and we'll be able to play with lots of different configurations as to whether we need students meeting in small groups or whether we want to have class in a big circle. We'll be able to move around and do that in this classroom. We have an activities of daily living lab, which looks like a studio apartment where students can go in and practice occupation-based interventions. There's a bathroom there. And just lots of time is going to be spent in this EDL lab. And then we have a Pediatric Neural Lab that kind of looks like an outpatient therapy space. And we'll be able to convert it from working with like more adult neuro ortho population to turning it into a pediatric lab with all the balls and swings and all that fun pediatric stuff. So that is our other lab. Then we also have a shared anatomy lab with the PA program that has an anatomage table. We'll be doing clinical procedures there. And we also have a patient assessment center where that's also shared with PA and pharmacy, where we will be doing interventions or doing testing of assessment and intervention. So we recognize that it's really important, the strength and value of a program is really rests on getting our name out there and having our faculty be really actively engaged in the broader scholarly community is really, really important to us. So we are really busy, have been busy in the last year, and will be we've presented at lots of conferences, both nationally, regionally, and in the state. I was able to present at the American College of Lifestyle Medicine annual conference. I have a 6.5-hour pre-conference institute at AOTA conference in March, looking at lifestyle medicine. We're doing a pediatrics and lifestyle medicine presentation at that conference, as well as a few other presentations as well. We've also been able to start our first research study through the program. And we are partnering with our state OT association, OTAC, and Dr. Rochelle Murphy and I have been able to be the co-primary investigators, and we're working with 4 other OT programs at other universities, where we're doing a study looking at a keynote that was done on systemic racism in occupational therapy. And we have collected our data. We're working on preparing doing data analysis and preparing manuscript and presentation right now. We've also been really grateful to have some grants and donations. I already told you about the Ardmore grant and our Venture Well grant with Art Center. We've gotten donations from different organizations as well. So admissions, so maybe this is what you might be most interested in. We are following a holistic admissions approach. So we want students to really share with us what their story has been, what are some of the, maybe some unique qualifying experiences that may make you really well suited to become an occupational therapist. We have all of our admissions criteria on our KGI website. We're not looking at GRE scores, so the GRE is not required for our program. We do have a very strong commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion. We want to have a very diverse cohort of students that are bringing a lot of different life experiences to us. And I think that there's just so much opportunity to learn from one another. And so that is a commitment that we hold. So our applications are open now. We're starting our interviews next week. And we'll be notifying applicants. Actually, we're going to notify them earlier than April to May here, but officially, as soon as we get ACOTE candidacy approval, we'll be able to officially welcome students in and start in August of 2022. So I don't know if you all know about our pre-occupational therapy program, but this is our 3rd summer to offer this. And for the first time, we're going to do an in-person session, June 13 to 17, and online, July 18 to 22. And the PreOT program has just been really popular, so fun to have people literally from around the world that have been part of the PreOT program. And it is for people who are just wanting to know more about occupational therapy, who may be in the process of applying to programs. Because here's the thing, OT is really complex. And I don't know about you, but just trying to figure out what is it that occupational therapists do, because we're so broad, it can be hard to really understand what OT might look like in a variety of settings. And so the PreOT program is a chance for you to learn about what does a day in the life look like for an occupational therapist in a lot of these different settings. So we bring lots of OTs in. We do in person, especially, it's going to be great to be doing lots of hands-on learning. I introduced participants to the OT practice framework and just kind of give a glimpse into what OT school might look like, what the experience might be. So it's just, we feel like it's a really important service to provide to just help people understand what OT is all about. And what it's not, what I don't have listed on here is that the cost is free. So the price is right. If you want to join us, the applications for our PreOT program are open now. So accreditation, we have submitted our candidacy to ACOT, which is the accrediting body for all OT schools. They are going to be deciding on our candidacy status in April. And then the big story here is that before our first cohort graduates, we will get a decision about accreditation from ACOT. And so I can't say, oh, I guarantee that we will be accredited, because I don't have total control over that, but I've been an OT educator for a very, very long time. I've worked at 2 other universities that have successfully gone through accreditation. I've worked as a consultant for a developing OTD program. I've helped start a master's program. I've helped start a post-professional OTD program. So I've been in the game a long time, and we've been able to hire other faculty members that are also really experienced. Dr. Rochelle Murphy, our academic fieldwork coordinator, was a program director at an OTA school where she successfully led the program through the accreditation process. So we are feeling confident about this. We've also hired a consultant to just make sure we're getting it all right, because we want the best outcomes for our future students. So that's all I've got for my end of the presentation here. So I'd like to just see if anyone has questions for me. I'd be happy to answer. Internet, Flora, thanks for your question. Yes, international students can apply. We actually have a fairly high percentage of students at KGI that are international. So KGI really loves having international students on campus. And so yes, we are open to international students. Any other questions? Will we be offering financial aid? I can tell you, yes, we have a whole financial aid department. Maryville Tuzan and her team are just really fabulous on helping students with that whole road of helping to pay for graduate education. We also are going to be giving scholarships to students, so there will be some scholarship funds available as well. Oh, thank you, Lexi. Does OTD KGI do rolling enrollment? What we do is rolling admissions. And so our admissions portal is going to be open all the way to June. And enrollment only happens 1 time per year. But we do have rolling admissions. So we had our priority deadline was January 15, but we're still accepting applications past that date. Yeah, that was this weekend, and then I just saw that a few more applications have already come in past that deadline. So yes, we have rolling admissions. Any other questions? Hi, Arlene, smiley face. For fieldwork, do you need to travel? Sometimes you might need to. We, at this point, have been able to find all sites within the state of California, and primarily in Southern California. Sometimes it can be a really great opportunity to travel. In fact, one of the things that Dr. Murphy is working on is being able to offer international fieldwork opportunities to our students, because that can just be a wonderful way to learn. But for the most part, it's going to be within California for fieldwork at this point. Thanks for that question. I know some schools send students all over the United States, so that is not our plan at KTI, because we want those trust partnerships. We'd like to be able to go out and visit sites and things like that really easily. You're welcome, Raylene. Any other questions? Okay. How would the interview process look like? That's a great question, Alejandra. This is one that we've had multiple meetings about in the last few weeks, because our first interview day is next Tuesday. So students will come to campus or do it online. Actually, this admission cycle, we're doing everything online because of COVID, and KGI is we're working remotely until mid-February. But the interview, we do multiple mini interviews. So a student will or an applicant will come in, and there's a welcome that happens first. And then students will do an interview where you have the chance to meet with 3 different OT faculty, where we ask questions. And so it's 3 15-minute blocks with different OT faculty. And then students will do some group work together where we provide an ethical dilemma, and you're given a half an hour to discuss that and come up with conclusions of things that you will do. So the ethical dilemma is part of the day. And then we like to see a writing sample, and to really see your writing skills as well as critical thinking. So students will be given an OT article, a short one, to read and then respond to as part of that whole kind of interview day process. And then typically the dean of admissions and the president of the university then meets with all the applicants. So that's what interview days look like. Flora, I think you asked the question, is there accommodations for students with disabilities? Absolutely. And that's done through student affairs. And we actually have our campus occupational therapists is also available to work with students who have accommodations and work on strategies to work through those accommodations that are needed. Okay, Meryl, if we were to be offered to do the interview, it's kind of, I think I answered that. What do you expect? So I like that way that you ask it too. What you can expect is that we are there to just get to know people who have applied to the program, and really are wanting to find people who will be the best fit for what we're looking for in students, and give them the chance to meet us as well to see if we're the right fit for them. So that's really what that interview date is all about. Jordan, what makes a student stand out competitive for the program? So there are a lot of different things that can make people stand out. I think one of the biggest things that we're looking for is people who are really just passionate about doing the work of occupational therapy, that are really interested in innovation and finding new ways to do things. Like if you think that you're the type of student that really just wants to go to a program that's going to teach you in traditional ways to go out and have a very traditional kind of mainstream OT job, this program might not be the best one for you, because we're really wanting to push the boundaries of what our profession looks like. But we will prepare you to go out and work in hospitals and schools and those more traditional areas as well. But we want students that have a wide, diverse range of life experiences. So it's the kind of thing where you might think, oh my goodness, I've done all these different things, and does it look bad if I haven't just gone through undergrad and then straight to grad school? Absolutely not. Like, having a range of life experiences is really great. We like people who are ready to work hard and ready to partner with others. There's going to be a lot of collaborative learning that happens, so that's going to be really important, and something that we're looking for. Meryl, will there be, you're welcome, Jordan. Will there be online remote classes offered? There's only 2. So for the most part, we are in person on the ground for all of those first 5 trimesters. There's going to be an online course in preparing for fieldwork. That's like a half credit course. And then while you're out on fieldwork, there's a class called Professional Transitions in Occupational Therapy, where we teach you about how to study for boards, how to interview for a job, how to get your CV together. And that class is going to be offered remotely because students will be out in a lot of different places for fieldwork. So just those 2, unless, knock on wood, we don't know when this pandemic is going to end, right? So we will be ready to teach things remotely if we need to, but we're really, really hoping that by the fall, we'll be able to do everything in person at that point. Arlene, in regards to the writing sample during the interview process, if it's virtual, would that be emailed in? Yeah, you actually will get the prompt and write it out on a piece of paper and use a scanning app on your phone or take a picture and email that in. That's how the prompt, and then someone will be watching you write and making sure that you're turning it in right during that time. So that's what it looks like, Arlene. You're welcome, Meryl. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have any other questions, yeah, I appreciate your great questions. I know that we're all living through a really challenging time right now, and I commend you for getting on here tonight. I know that, I don't know about you all, but I feel like COVID is all around me and we've managed to not get it yet. And I'm like more knocking on wood. I know that this is a tough time, so I just hope that all of you stay healthy. I'm so happy that you're thinking about your future. I think that's one of the most positive things that you can do right now, is to think about all those possibilities for the future. And hopefully KGI can be a part of that if your journey is going to be an occupational therapy one. So please feel free to reach out with us with any additional questions that you might have. And it's just, thanks for being here this evening. Bye, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being here.